3 classes in, and Matt Rhule's improved Nebraska's ranking every season. Year 1, they finished 29th. Year 2, they hit 24. And now, despite all of the drama from these past few days, Nebraska's in position to finish with a top 20 class for the first time since 2020. With new coordinators on deck, 15 portal additions on the way, and plenty more change to come, we'll have a lot to look forward to. But it all starts on signing day. So today, we'll look at the biggest additions, I'll give you my thoughts on Rhule's presser, and we'll talk about what's next for recruiting. But what's up, guys? I'm Connor Hayden, and this is Crazed. If you're a fan of Nebraska or the Big Ten, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my live reactions. And if you think Cortez Mills can make an impact as a true freshman, hit the like button and help us get to 1,000. But now, let's get into it.
He's hit and set. He's taking a shot downfield, wide open end zone, caught, touchdown.
When you grade Matt Rhule in his first 2 seasons and try to evaluate how good he's been as the head coach, one of the first areas you point to is roster management, and that starts with high school recruiting. 2023 features a starting left tackle in Gunnar Gatula and a high-ceiling receiver in Jalen Lloyd. 2024 included their QB, #1 receiver, and 3 underrated defenders who all made huge plays as true freshmen. So what's the expectation for the 2025 class? Well, if you look at the 2 highest rated prospects that signed today, you've got an outside linebacker in Dawson Merritt, who Rhule said has to be ready to play day 1, and a receiver in Cortez Mills, who walks into a room that only returns 1 starter. Not only is Dawson a steal since he was a high priority for Bama, but now that they're losing 5 of their top 8 linebackers to graduation or the portal, he's probably going to get in the rotation right away. Mills was an OU commit with plenty of SEC interest, and when you watch his highlights, he looks a lot like Ryan Williams from Alabama. They've got similar builds. I'm not sure what his 40 time is, but he's fast, and his ability to make contested catches is just as strong as his run after the catch. You look at how productive Barney was in his first season, and I think that should get you excited about this round of freshmen who could obviously do the same. Even with the last-minute staff changes, 4 of the 8 4-star signees were on defense. Chase Lofton was the lone in-state guy who left for an out-of-state program. And the last-minute signing of Jeremiah Jones, after Missouri thought they had him in the bag, meant Nebraska would land every single player who was already committed. Now, the other part of roster management is the transfer portal, and Matt Rhule will be the first one to tell you that his original plan backfired. He wanted to recruit guys from high school, redshirt the ones who could benefit from it, and then play them once they were ready. It's already worked at Temple and Baylor, and it's what worked at Nebraska for a really long time before he got there. The problem was college football was changing so damn fast that he didn't realize that same strategy wasn't going to work. Malachi Coleman and Prince Will are great examples. 2 guys with strong freshman seasons who Rhule would have redshirted if he could have, but instead they played a bunch early. They ended up not getting the same opportunities in year 2, and now out of frustration, they're leaving to play elsewhere, even though Rhule would love to complete the mission and get them to the NFL. I was listening to a presser from Dion earlier this season, and he talked about the new landscape and not wanting to redshirt guys. He said that they're all going to leave if you won't play them right away, so get the most out of them while you can. And I'm going to guess that Rhule's new ideas based on these last couple of years in the Big Ten are pretty similar to Coach Prime's. And that leads us to who they've got to add from the portal. I think we'll still see some guys leave, and figuring out what spots they've got to reload at will be more clear next week. But right now, it sounds like they'll take close to 15 transfers, half on offense, half on defense. A couple receivers is obvious. Kentucky's #1 guy just entered, and he'll be a target for sure since he's already got a relationship with the new receivers coach. In 3 seasons, he had 126 catches for almost 1,900 yards and 14 touchdowns. Now, there are going to be plenty of other options. I'm just giving you an example of who's out there. On the O-line, they'll have to add 2 or 3. Kalen's gone, so a QB's necessary. The defense loses almost everybody from the 3 deep, so we'll see what Rhule decides to do there. And with so many good options jumping in, Nebraska's going to be a really hot spot with so much opportunity to play right away. Everybody wants to know how soon a DC hire is going to be made, but Rhule made a point today that he doesn't feel pressured to pick somebody yet. John Butler's going to coach the bowl game, but if he or Phil Snow were the top choices, I guess Rhule would have already announced one of them as the full-time coordinator. So because he hasn't yet, I'm thinking he goes with an outside hire. I just don't know who that's going to be and who's on his radar right now. One of my biggest takeaways from the entire presser was that he said multiple Power 4 coordinators and former head coaches are interested and have reached out about that job. So that tells you that he's really considering all his options before he pulls the trigger. One other note I thought was interesting was about Heinrich Haarberg. Rhule said they want to let him explore other positions next season, and that even though Latif's in the room with Dylan, they'll still need one more guy. But I'm under the impression that this was the plan all along. I've heard NFL scouts believe Haarberg could be a real weapon at tight end, and then I heard yesterday that Haarberg's already moved over to that room for bowl game prep. Now, I'm not saying that's where he ends up, and I've got no idea what role he plays since it's a pretty crowded spot with Fedoni, Borkacher, and Lindenmeyer. But he's a guy that can make an immediate impact if they find ways to get the ball in his hands. I saw Carricker post this question on Facebook, and with everything going on, it does make you think. He mentions that Rhule's depended on relationships, development, and loyalty all throughout his career. But with those things all going against him today, it begs the question, can Matt Rhule be successful in today's college football? This week, one of those long-term relationships burned him by leaving for a different school with the exact same job title. Those young players that he wanted to develop jumped into the portal. The loyalty that he's experienced in the past is way harder to find now. There's no doubt this is new territory for him. He didn't want to be like Cignetti or Dion, but now he kind of has to. If I had to answer this question honestly, I'd tell you that I'm confident he can make it work. He's been successful with high school players that can make a day one impact. He's found difference makers in the portal, and when coaches aren't getting the job done, he's willing to make the right changes. It might be new territory, but Rhule's no stranger to finding ways to win. Before we get out of here, I got to end with this. Marcus Satterfield got shit on by fans all season long. People blamed him for the play calling. They said he wasn't fit for the job he was hired to do. And as soon as Dana came in, his demotion was celebrated everywhere. A month later, and Holgorsen decides to keep him on as a tight ends coach. Now, if it was me, or I'd guess most of you, our egos would probably get in the way. Our frustration with how things ended or how they're changing would probably lead us to wanting to get the hell out of Lincoln. But Sat doesn't care. All ego and pride aside, the dude said, I'm here to stay in whatever capacity you'll have me. So shout out Marcus Satterfield, not only for doing whatever he can to help this team and these players be successful, but for showing us what it looks like to boss up and do whatever it is that you want to do, regardless of what other people think or what they say about you. I'll start my research on the transfers for another video, but for now, I want to know what you think, so let me know in the comments below. Which one of today's signees has you the most excited about the future? What's the number one position Nebraska's got to target in the portal? And how do you feel about Sat staying on as the tight ends coach? I'm just glad that Holgorsen sees potential in all the coaches on this staff, so hopefully having guys in the room who are all bought in and on the same page leads to more improvement on offense. But that's all I've got for today. So until next time, thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Go Big Red.